3 statistical secrets that you need to know heading into the Spain Grand Prix. Welcome to the Pit Wall, your stop for fantasy Formula One content. You can like and subscribe for more content like this. I'm J-Jack, and let's go. The first statistical secret is the track. The circuit of Barcelona and Catalonia for Spain has been on the calendar since 1991, perhaps one of the most raced, most tested tracks on the modern calendar because it has held exclusive preseason testing for 5 years from 2016 to 2020. It also shared preseason testing this year, but it was closed session for Spain and open preseason over in Bahrain. These 3 days of preseason testing is where the teams were able to shake them out, try their different concepts ahead of the beginning of the season. And we have teams like Mercedes who made a drastic change between what they put at Spain and what they brought to Bahrain. Here's the thing we're going to look at in a moment, comparing how the teams are performing in preseason testing to how they were performing during free practice session 1 and 2. But don't forget, the last sector of Spain is very tight, like Monaco-esque. Actually, the performance of the cars during the third sector will give you an idea of their pace for the next race, so stay tuned for that as we look forward in a week's time. But here's the thing, even if Ferrari is faster in certain sectors, they've been outpaced by Red Bull in the other sectors. And so you gotta look, just because a team is fastest in sector 1, 2, or 3, you need to be faster in more sectors than the other team. And this is where Mercedes is starting to surprise people, and Red Bull has a really good race pace. Partly because Ferrari, even though it seems to have more downforce, they're having higher tire degradation, so they can out-qualify the other two teams, but then they get slower during the race, which allows Verstappen to pass Leclerc. Let's kick it over the spreadsheet to see how the teams compare from preseason testing to now. Link to this spreadsheet is in the description below. On the left-hand side, you see the preseason over 3 days. I listed the fastest time achieved. Anything that's not highlighted is in softs. The yellows I'm showing for mediums. If you compare that to Spain's FP1 and FP2, where I also took the fastest lap time over the 2 sessions, you see their average positions are. Mercedes on top, Russell and Hamilton, followed by Leclerc. And then you have the 2 Red Bulls and then Sainz. Then we have Vettel, consistent during preseason testing and during FP1 and 2. Alonso is right up there as well, but you can see that during preseason testing, he was quite lower, but it shows how his package upgrades have improved. We see that the McLarens, even though they were looking good preseason testing, because of reliability issues, are not looking very good during FP1 and 2. And that's why they are lower in the averages, but Norris is still up there in the top 10. Haas, which was looking lower in preseason testing, is looking much better in FP1 and 2, and what we'll see is they haven't brought any upgrades, which is interesting. And then it's not surprising that we have teams like Alfa Romeo and Williams and AlphaTauri looking like they're back of the pack. There's something about this track that doesn't quite suit them, and that's why they're there. But fascinating to see how Stroll has had a stark improvement. Like I said, look at the link in the description below. You can pour over these numbers. You can see how the times are, recognizing that Hamilton set a 119.138 in preseason testing, and no one has gotten that low during FP1 and FP2. And then Leclerc, who set a 119.689, which is slightly slower than what he set during FP2, was on medium, so there is a lot of room still for them to improve their lap times come qualifying. Which now brings us to our constructors. You see Alfa Romeo staying at the bottom. Williams was actually much higher during preseason testing, has dropped right to the back of the pack. Haas has been improving, but their average is still pretty low. But it shows how they've really got their package figured out. Alpine is the one that has really gained a lot of distance. Top 3, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull are right there. But like I said, McLaren, because of reliability issues, should have been 4th of the best based off of averages, 3rd best during preseason testing, but only 8th best during FP1 and FP2. So these numbers will give you some insights. Of course, there could be a lot of changes between preseason testing and now, but it shows you how the teams are progressing. That's what we're looking. We're looking for steady progression, and that'll give you the ideas of who to be looking forward to in the future as they go into the second stage. Isn't it crazy? 5 races in already. Here we are at the 6th, and they want these upgrades to last for the next 6 to 7 races. So this is the next major stint with how the teams perform now with these upgrades is going to show you who are the hot assets, the hot picks to have on your team moving forward. The second statistical secret is upgrades and reliability. Over 40 upgraded pieces over 9 teams, and the one team to not bring any upgrades is Haas. They're going to wait till France to be able to bring their upgrades. I think it's a little bit of trying to understand the car, but also with some of the major crashes that Schumacher had at the beginning of the season, they're trying to balance their budget, being short on parts. So they want to make sure that they've got the right parts before they manufacture them. Norris, with McLaren, had the most upgrades, and he was running the new upgrades while Ricciardo was keeping the old. But here's the crazy thing. Because Norris damaged his underside during FP2, he was out for most of that session. Ricciardo, with the older car, it's hard to see his exact times, but he was only 15th fastest. Bottas had an engine issue, out for most of free practice session 2. Vettel with the new look Aston Martin, people are jokingly saying it's the green ball. But here's the thing. He got the technical director from Red Bull over to Aston Martin, so we shouldn't be surprised that, kind of like with Haas, where they got the technical director from Ferrari over to their team this offseason, that you're going to have Haas's looking like Ferraris and Aston Martin's looking like Red Bulls. The FIA currently says that it's within their legal parameters. Check Vettel, because if he is going to start performing better than he has been these last few races, he might surprisingly be an option for your lineup. This now brings us to Mercedes. The new package has significantly diminished porpoising, the main thing bothering them so much. And the idea was because they had the zero pod concept, that it was exposing more of their floor, which was more sensitive to the ground effect. And now that they've been able to bolster that up, lower the ride height, they have been showing quite a rapid pace. Now, here's the thing. Even though Russell, Hamilton, and Mercedes have dipped in value over the previous races, they are still really too expensive to consider on your team if, for example, you're having Red Bull as your constructor and trying to fit both a Russell or a Hamilton on there. But also be careful, because Russell and Hamilton were looking really fast in free practice session 2 of last race, and then as the weekend wore on, they settled their pace and lost out to faster teams. So stay tuned for free practice session 3. But don't forget, Hamilton has won 5 straight years here at Spain, 2017 to 2021. And if these upgrades prove to be that good, you could see him fighting for the win or the podium again. The third statistical secret is streaks. It is very interesting that there's only 3 assets available for streaks this race, but they are very important. The first is Perez, who is eligible for a race streak, finished in the top 10 at the end of the race. He gets plus 10 points. Ferrari is eligible for a quali streak. If both drivers end in the top 10 at the end of qualifying, plus 5 points. Red Bull, though, is eligible for a power streak. That means if both drivers finish in the top 10 for a quali and the race, that's plus 15 points. Now, Red Bull is traditionally been more expensive than the Ferrari. Because of the performance of Ferrari, it wasn't worth picking up Red Bull. But as you will see when we look at my teams, the amount of money and value those teams went up just because that power streak made it worth picking up. And we'll have to see free practice session 3 how Ferrari and Red Bull are shaking up. But it is too good to pass up that points opportunity, even if you sub back up to Ferrari next week. But here is the issue. Perez, because he was subbed out for Yuri Vips in free practice session 1, wasn't able to show his pace progression. And so you have to pay attention to FP3 to see how is he performing. He's still a really good option. And here is the debate that hopefully you can help me in the comments. Do you turbo Leclerc or do you turbo Perez? Because Perez, with that race streak of plus 10, that could be 20 extra points if you turbo him. But here's the thing. If the Mercedes are indeed up at the front, and we've seen Perez is usually the 4th best driver, that means that he's going to lose 2 positions and be the 6th best driver. That's not good enough if you've got Leclerc, for example, who's going to be on the podium. So that's why I'm leaning towards Leclerc still as my turbo option. I'd like to promo for you our 1 race challenge, 1 team, 1 opportunity, 1 shot to compare yourselves with those globally in the hunt to be on the 1 race challenge leaderboard. Top 3 scores will be able to get a special podium ceremony at the end of next podcast. We already have 38 entrants. If we can get at least 50, we'll be able to be submitted in the large leagues. And we've been smashing it globally with our large leagues compared to other leagues that have over 50 entrants. So join, see how you do, and have fun in this competitive 1 race challenge. It's now time for my picks. You'll notice my 2 teams I've been running this whole season. On the left is my steady team, on the right is my day trading team, but the roles have been reversed ever since I used my wild cards. 12 points separates these 2 teams, and that's the power of using a mega driver at the right time. Team 1, 107.3 million. Team 2, 106.2 million. So a million separating the two because of when I use my wild card. You can see that the power of the Mega Driver allowed Team 2 to crawl back, and they currently have the same lineups week after week after week. One of these days, I'll eventually be able to try something different between these two lineups. But you can see that having Red Bull, Albon, and Perez all shot me up over 1 million in value over the last 2 weeks. I have already used all 3 of my free substitutions in both teams. So normally I would tell you, oh, let's change this, change that. Well, I'm not to, because I would never take negative points to over sub. Same with you. Try not to take negative points at any point during the season. It's so hard to get those points back. But I could not pass up Albon, who was going up. And the reasoning for Albon is that he is near the back. So he's going to gain positions and points over his teammate, unlike someone like Magnussen, who is in the middle of the pack and will probably be losing positions, especially this week where he didn't bring any upgrades, but we will see. Switching from Ferrari to Red Bull, get that potential of plus 15, and even if suddenly it looks like Ferrari is going to be the better option and outscore Red Bull by 10 points because Mercedes is crawling to the front, I've already used my substitutions. So I'll sit tight and enjoy the show. Put in the comments below what's your lineup. We can discuss it, we can help each other out, and we can continue this discussion on either Twitter or on Discord. Links in the description below. And there we have it. Thanks for taking this time for the statistical deep dive. And as always, check FP3. It's going to be very tricky to see how the upgrades play out as we go into the final moments of this test sessions. And these upgrades could be what propels Mercedes to the front or evens out between Red Bull and Ferrari. Stay tuned. Hopefully your lineups will be solid picks for this most tested racetrack on the calendar. And until next time, I'll see you on the pit wall.